All right, welcome back to another episode of Datitudes and Platitudes. I'm Alienated, and these are
Let it daddy.
And Mufasa.
and today we are back. We took the summer off and just kind of had fun, hung out with each other, kind of went through some stuff, and so we'll kind of get into it. But I'm gonna let them take it off while I am lighting up.
So Gino, what you smoking today?
Well, I am smoking something that's smokable. It is a Java coffee cigar, but somehow they have mint added in there, which that just makes for a flavor I'm never going to smoke again.
I got a leather rose from Drew Estate. Big fan. Just picked up a box last week.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So wow, guys, it's been a summer. I know, like me, just for instance, I've probably been away from home more than I was at home. I was all over the place, working in California, working in Texas, working all over the place. One of the jobs it's the wildest thing. I was working nights at Disneyland. Yeah, let me tell you, horrific it what it looked like. The music never stops.
Oof. Can't imagine seriously like sitting there 2 a.m. It's pitch black minus the lights on and just it's a small world after all.
Did you follow the voice to the small rooms underneath the
No,
art?
it didn't get all Five Nights at Freddy's at me.
No?
No.
Okay.
But yeah, with that came a lot of tension because that puts a strain on everybody. Me being grumpy a lot, traveling so much, the kids missing me, the wife missing me, and then her just having to shoulder everything alone. It was pretty tough there. But made it through the summer push, readjusted travel. It's a whole lot better now.
I mean, I can definitely appreciate having a hard summer. Professionally speaking, it's been in the HVAC business. It hasn't been a super hot summer and hasn't been hustling and bustling like it was 2-3 years ago. Coming off I guess in the throes of COVID. We got a lot less tire kickers and a lot more demand because everybody was home. So this year, it hadn't been the year that we wanted. So I mean, I can't relate to the whole being away from home, but I can definitely relate to the stress of work weighing down what should be a fun, relaxing. Well, I won't say relaxing, but a fun time where you're making lots of money.
Yeah, I feel that too. I had a little bit of a job scare a couple weeks ago. Just some inner turmoil at work and trying to get everything sorted. But nothing like getting scared a little bit to make you look at all of the options and what's around you and appreciate the people around you.
So, we're gonna get into one of the things that I really have tried to work on this summer with the throes of work stressing me out has really just been trying to slow down. Because I think in this rat race of a human life that we pigeonhole into one thing after the next. And I can say for me, especially it was what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? So trying to take a little bit of time back this summer and just to kind of readjust and reevaluate and spend time in the moment. It's definitely been tough.
And that's a good reality check to have at times. Something I feel that we're all guilty of at times is we try to do too many things. We overextend ourselves. I did that. I was that way with work. Oh yeah, I'll go take care of this job. Oh yeah, I'll go take care of this job. Oh man, you don't need to stress out. I'll go do this. On top of whatever else I might be trying to bite off at home, and it just piles up, and you start having time for the things that are really important to you.
Why do you think we do that?
Well, for me, for work, for instance, I take my role as the provider very seriously because I'm the only one in the house with an income, and I like to stay the top dog in my fields to make sure I'm providing as much as I can. And when I step back, 80% leather daddy is good enough. 80% leather daddy is still better than a whole lot of people, and I'll still be a pretty hot dog doing that. I don't have to be the hero all the time.
I'll say for me, kind of off the provider aspect, like it's definitely very stressful when you're not having the year that you wanted. And so, I have the moniker the fixer of everything at my office. I have a little plaque that sits in my office window. It literally says fixer of everything. Being in the operations role, I'm everything from the service to the installation to fleet management to customer escalation to just everything. And you turn around, and before you know it, because people aren't doing it the way you would do it, you're like, just I got it. Just get out of my face. I'll let me handle it. And then all of a sudden you end up with this 100 task to do list, and you only have 8 hours to knock it all out, or 10 hours to knock it all out. I'll be honest. I have a hard time at work. I'm still available after my hard time, but I got to come home, and I got to prioritize my family a little bit, because that's the whole reason I go to work. Like I don't go just because it's fun. I don't go because it's super awesome, this, that, and the third. I go because it provides for me and my family.
Something that you mentioned that I want to touch on. Anyone with a perfectionist type personality, I get into this. I'll see people doing things. It wouldn't be exactly how I want to do it, and I'll just take a hold of it so it gets done right. And you start doing that too much, and you end up with this big pile of stuff you never actually get to any of, and you just end up backed up.
Or you start half-assing stuff so that you actually get things completed off the list too, and then you get frustrated at yourself because it's not done to your normal standard, but it's done, and I struggle with that.
I very much enjoy checklist, checking those things off the list. I get a lot of gratification from that. So for me, I'll take on burdens just so I can. Oh, feels good to get it done. Feels good to, and it's very short-sighted because you overextend yourself. You get home and you're grumpy with your family. Like you said, the purpose, the reason why you're going out and having this job. You get home, you're grumpy because you overextended yourself, so you don't have anything to give when you get home, and it's a hard place to find yourself in.
Well, I would say probably, like looking into your situation, I couldn't really fathom the extra level of stress, because you are, work from home type job. So your decompression time, like we've talked about in the past, isn't super long. I mean, you don't have that ability to sit there and decompress before you walk out of that door. You've got to instantly go from the annoyances of work or the stress at work into being a dad. And even then, while you're trying to provide, the little knocking on the door, getting asked to go do this or go do that, and you're just trying to knock out what you need to knock out so you can provide. Like, that's an extra level of stress where I don't have that. I work 35 miles from where I live, so I have a smooth hour ride in with no traffic, and I have an hour and 15 on a good day to an hour and 45 on a bad day drive home.
Yeah, I'll say what makes it better is in my afternoons, like doing this, right? I'm not really losing family time because I'm there all day. I'm engaged in both being a father and being a provider, right? So I'm with my child all day. So the good definitely outweighs the bad, and especially because we've talked a ton about our support systems, and I have days off in the week, like Tuesday, Thursdays. My parents pick up the baby, so I get those days to decompress, right? It's not an everyday thing, but I do get to be with my family all day. I get to eat lunch with them every day. Right?
I work from home for right now 2 days a week, and it's working at home is different than work. That work-life balance starts to get a little muddy, where it's hard to want to focus on this spreadsheet or this email when you got little man or any of the leather kiddos wanting to do fun stuff. It's like, well, shoot, do I really want to do this, or do I want to go play trucks?
So, like,
Play
I
trucks.
kind of, yeah, I mean, always spending time with a kid is always preferred. I will say that I almost have an opposite of y'all's status because of the fact that I do work from the office so often that the days that I work from home, the annoyances at work, people asking me questions, getting pigeonholed into this conversation, or getting called into this office to sit down because, again, for whatever reason, but I know why, but I chose my route instead of going a different route. I went to operations, and part of my job is to lead managers. And so having conversations of like management, it is very aggravating when people don't follow the rules and don't follow that. So when I get home or when I'm working from home, all of these emails that I have flagged as that are important, I need to read and I need to go through and I need to sift through what needs my response, what needs my attention. I'm able to catch up with all of the admin data because I'm not getting called into every other office. I'm not getting pigeonholed into this conversation or that conversation. Something that's supposed to take 2 to 4 or 5 minutes of my time ends up taking 15 to 30 minutes because of all the extra nuances that go in the conversation. You're having it over a Teams call. So what do you need? What's up? Here it is. There it is. All right. Talk to you later.
Yeah.
So I kind of have a little bit of a different perspective on the work from home because I get more of the admin stuff done than I do when I'm at work because my title is very much like, hey, I need you
Hands-on.
for this. I need
Yeah.
you for that. So
A flip side of overextension, it's something else I had to help with this summer, is we got to recognize when our spouses are getting overextended as well, and help them back off and not overload themselves. Leather Mama, she's incredible with all the things that she does around the house and all the things that she wants to do with the kids, and she really drives herself to want them to have a good day each and every day. But she'll drive herself to want to go take them to a nature exhibit
The aquarium.
or the aquarium, the museum, something every single day, and that wears on you.
not only in the financial aspect of it because I don't know about y'all, but my significant other gets a lot more spending money than I do, and that's designed that way because I'm at work 45 hours to 50 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
My significant other is raising my child and doing homeschooling, and that's not always posted up on a computer or posted up doing dry erase exercises like how to write. My kid's toddler age, so a lot of it is going to museums and learning about the nature and learning about the different types of trees and leaves and stuff. So in the financial aspect, that can be overwhelming and overextending. But additionally, just mentally going is rough.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that, when we're talking about looking after our spouses with the overextension, it's not 50-50. And to anybody who thinks that it's a 50-50 relationship, I encourage you to reevaluate what you're looking at. Because there are days where I'm a 20 and she has to be an 80. Or she's a 20 and I have to be an 80. Or there are days where we're both 20s and that has to be okay.
And that's a stay at home and whatever you got to do to make it through the day kind of day. TV isn't. I don't like to stick the kids in front of the TV all day. If they need some TV time and I need to chill, and it's one of those 2020 days, so be it. Not 2020 COVID, but I don't want ever want that.
Hey man, you may not want that headache, but I made lots of money in 2020 on bonuses. We were slanging and banging because everybody was at home and going, hey. I noticed at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, my HVAC system doesn't keep up.
It's struggle.
It's riding that struggle bus. Where normally, just like we are back now, people are working so much. The economy's in the tank, and there's just not enough to go around like there used to be. And so, sorry, gotta hop off my bag about this.
2020,
Hey,
the golden year.
back in my day, Sonny.
I remember back. There's a lot of things that happened for me in 2020 because I got married that year, started a business that year, all within like the same 3 week period. Started a graduate career, all three of those in the same 3 week span. It was a big leap.
So, I guess kind of talking about that, and Mufasa, I want to know your perspective on this. When you were progressing as a young adult into where you are now, and not saying that we're not young, right?
Back in my day.
Gen Zers, but back, before the family, before the job, what were the goals and aspirations? Because I'll just kind of put out mine. And I got out of the Army and I was like, I want to be a manager, I want to have a family, and I want to own a house. I got all three of them in 2019. Found out we were pregnant, got promoted to a management position, got my house. And now I'm like, oh, what's the next step?
Yeah, so for me, we call it in my family big boy job. I got my first big boy job in 2019. I took forever to graduate college because didn't know what I wanted to do. Honestly, I really just wasn't driven enough. And so I graduated, got a great opportunity, and married my wife all in that same year. Bought a house in that same year. And honestly, my goal every day, and I know this is cheesy.
Is it to be better than you were yesterday?
It's to be as good as I can be today.
Okay. I can get behind that.
Right? Because there's some days when you're waking up on 2 hours of sleep and you're not going to be as good as you were yesterday. Right? And that's okay. Like you were saying, the 20% thing. I only have 20% of myself to give today. But what I want is when my daughter looks at, 15, 20 years from now, when she looks at what her future husband's going to be, I want her first thought to be, I want a man like my dad. You know what I mean?
Getting all real on us.
Well, I mean, that's the goal, right? You want to set such a great example for your daughter that is what she strives for, to get a man that's at your caliber. And so I catch myself because I'll get frustrated with her and be like, if her husband reacted the way I'm reacting right now, would I want to beat the shit out of him?
That's a good metric.
I mean...
You know what I mean?
Fair.
And there's a difference between discipline and holding your child to a standard and being an ass. Right? Because we do have to discipline. I believe spare the rod, spoil the child, essentially, right? Like, we need to discipline, and whatever way you want to make that look like in your household, that's fine. But in love, there needs to be discipline. And then after discipline, there needs to be love again, right?
So, in the great wisdom that I received from our corporate individual that's camped out of my office right now.
Did they tell you to spank him?
No, I've got some great Southern euphemisms. By far, my favorite one, before I continue, is you can't be half pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
You either are or you aren't.
That's a.
And I guess that kind of goes back to the whole Yoda thing. There is no try. There is only do and do not.
Mm-hmm.
But, kind of the shit sandwich, right? Compliment, discipline, compliment.
Yeah.
Hey, I noticed that you're doing X, Y, and Z really good, but hey, I know you aren't listening right now, so we're going to have to take a break. You're going to have to, go do something else right now.
But Daddy loves you, and he's yep. Yeah,
And-
and so that's really important. So my goal, like I said, is I want to be the best I can be each day. I want as much grace as I extend to others to be extended towards me. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm not extending grace, I don't deserve grace. You know?
So with that, when you're catching yourself, kind of taking it back to that slowing down and living in the moment, kind of aspect, how are you doing that? How are y'all slowing down and catching yourself in the moment so that you can enjoy the moment or be in the moment with them versus just either chasing the next thing or getting aggravated or...
So I can tell you for me, Mr. Spiritual, worry for nothing, right? Let tomorrow take care of itself, and it lets you live in the moment. Because, like I was talking about earlier with that job situation, I didn't know if I was going to have a job. So I was panicked for about 2 days of, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? How am I going to provide for my family? X, Y, and Z, what's going to go on? And then I went to my dad, and again, cheeseball it up, because I love my dad and he's awesome. But I went to him and I was like, Dad, I just don't know what I'm going to do. And he looked at me and he said, God's got you, I've got you, gave me a big hug, and I just felt so at peace. And I was like, let tomorrow worry for itself.
Big monster of a problem and just chase it away.
Yeah. For y'all who don't know, my dad and I, we really like this song called Monster by James Blunt. And it's about the dad and the son chasing each other's monsters away, the issues, the hardships. And I told my dad right after that conversation, I was like, you're still chasing my monsters away. And he looked at me and he said, son, you've been doing that since I can remember. And having that kind of relationship, having that kind of support with somebody is really important. But realizing that today is hard enough. That's what the Bible says. Today is hard enough. Don't worry for tomorrow. Focus on what's going on now.
Master Oogway from Kung Fu Panda. Yesterday was in the past.
Yep.
Tomorrow is not promised, so today is a present.
Yep. And don't live in the past either. Don't focus on what happened in the past.
You can't fix it. You can't change it. It's set in stone at this point. It's history.
Yeah. So that's how I do it.
For me, I get a lot of support on this from my wife because I need to be kept in check about it, and that work-life balance, you got to emphasize the balance. So she helps me enforce a rule. I have a goldfish mind. P-brain will just pick up my work phone sometimes. Oh, look, I got an email. Now, when I come home, there's a special spot the work phone goes, and then it's supposed to stay there. And if I pick it up, I get fussed, and I'm allowed to. I really shouldn't be answering it. And then doing that, there's certain things in the evening routine that's I'm not thinking about work, and I'm able to really savor and appreciate. I put little man to bed every night. I read him a story, and we got a whole routine we go through the exact same way. I put his little stuffed animals to bed, and then I put him to bed, and I don't think about anything else in that moment. And you have these, you got to appreciate those moments that you have, whatever the special ones are to you, and you don't let anything else come between you and them.
Oh,
because you're not going to get them back.
So along that line, I've caught myself saying no to picking up my daughter, she's 4.5, and hey, you're getting to be a big girl, you need to do this, you need to do that. And then it just keeps coming back, like one day I'm going to pick her up for the last time. And I'm not going to know that it was the last time I picked her up. And so, not to get all sappy, but You know, if your children are coming to you and want you involved, they're going to eventually not. And it's coming sooner rather than later, for a lot of us, because I don't know about y'all, but this year has flown by.
Yeah.
You know, my daughter's about to be 5 here shortly, and 5 years ago feels like yesterday.
We're in that time of year where it's September, December.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 months or all 4 months are just the same.
Now, I will say a lot of cool things happen in the back half of the year. Spooky season's around the corner.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, that's just what I've noticed, you know, with myself, just in that aspect. It's just she's not always going to want to sit in your lap and eat dinner. She's not always going, and he, whatever child you have, either one, they're not always going to want to sit with you. They're not always going to want you to read them a story. They're not always going to want you to join their bath with them. They're not always going to want to sit and play with you. Um, So I encourage any parent that's struggling to put the work phone down, turn it on loud, set it on your counter, answer it if it rings and you got to answer it. Like, I'm a 24/7 manager. But don't be just scrolling on it. Don't be checking emails that aren't important. Take the time, focus into your family.
Because what's your priority? Is your priority work? Is your priority scrolling on your phone, or is it being in the moment with your family?
It's your family, because guess what? Tomorrow, if tomorrow you were to not be here anymore, what would your company do?
Hire someone else in a second.
They would run a blanket ad for your position,
There's no blanket ad.
for your family.
That's right.
So we're going to take a break, and we'll be back here shortly. All right, we're back from our break. You know, we were just talking about. Oh gosh, my
Savoring
mind
the
went-
moment.
Yeah, my mind went blank. I was savoring the moment so hard that my mind went blank.
That's not the moment.
You know, another aspect of savoring the moment is, you know, communication, right? Because we're talking about being in the moment, and a lot of us will go through struggles and hardships and issues that arise in our relationships. And I think taking the time out in the moment can be very beneficial for addressing a hurt or a miscommunication or something
Anything.
that's done really well. I think taking that moment and recognizing that or talking to it can definitely help, you know, spur conversation in that aspect. And so, kind of talking about it in between our intermission, we were talking about just how hard it is to sometimes remove emotion from it.
And to process how or why you feel the way you feel before speaking about it. So, for instance, my wife and I, when we are in a spat, I'm like, let's talk about it now, let's knock it out. You were being a jerk, I was being a jerk, let's move on, right? But my wife needs time to process why she feels the way she does, so she can articulate to me what I did that hurt her. And I have the opposite. I can say, oh, this hurt me because this, and I just move on. But she has to think on it. And so we find ourselves in this impasse sometimes where how do we communicate, because I haven't thought about it in a day, and
That's all they've been thinking about.
that's all
for the
they've
day.
been thinking about for a day. So then they'll address something, and I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about anymore. You know? And so we have sometimes this impasse of how do we communicate effectively in the moment, but also allowing time to process why.
So
Does that make sense?
it makes sense. So, like, I'll explain. Our dynamic is, you know, something bothers my wife, and you know, and the way she works through it is we have to address the hurt first. Who got hurt first, right? who initially took offense, and then understanding how that came across or how that was impactful or hurtful or whatever synonymous words you want to use. And I noticed that for the first couple of minutes, I want to, oh, well, I didn't like this. Well, I didn't like that. Almost like a tit for tat pettiness coming out.
Because no one wants to be at fault. Nobody
Right.
wants to be the blame of.
It's hard to accept the responsibility. Like, I caused you harm. I think men in general have a more unique skill where we remove our emotions. Because I noticed that a whole bunch, that when we have conversations, there's a lot of times where you have to turn it off so that we can effectively communicate. Otherwise, my emotions will feed off of her emotions, and then now we're 3 hours down the rabbit hole, and we've talked about things that weren't even part of the original issue, but now are issues, and we're working through.
And on the same scope, I feel like a lot of men either turn off or go directly to anger. Right? We don't process, that made me feel bad. We say, I'm pissed off that you did this. I'm mad that you did this. We react in anger instead of the other multitude of emotions, because basically we're either happy or pissed.
Yeah.
Something that's really important to keep in mind in communications for an emotional situation like that is there is no right or wrong at that exact moment. What there is their feelings and their perception, your feelings and your perception, and they're both valid at the moment, and they both need addressing. So, and that's one of the core ways I approach the situation: address the feelings, and then I think we can all agree, we don't want to hurt our spouse. We don't want to hurt their feelings. We never want to do that intentionally.
Or anybody.
Or anybody.
Yeah. Our friends, family, whatever.
And so, like, in your aspect where you're addressing the feelings first, I almost feel that mine's kind of different in the way that we don't address the feeling first, we address the intent. Like, my intention was not to cause you harm. For instance, I'll just explain it. I made my wife feel not valued or pretty or desirable when she came home with some dresses the other day. And it got brought up to my attention that, hey, you were mocking her. I wasn't trying to mock her. I was trying to pay compliments in my own way. She had a dress on, and I was like, oh, yeah. Put, like, one of those plantation hats on and some shit kickers, and it would be a really cute, like, southern outfit. Well, that's not my wife's style at all. It was more of a princess, fairy, garden, fairy kind of aspect, and that hurt her feelings very heavily. And it wasn't intended to hurt her feelings. I was trying to pay a compliment because I liked the dress. I just expressed it in a way she didn't receive it well. Because she didn't find value in the way that I was presenting.
Now, devil's advocate a little bit. You should know, general you, not you specifically, general you should know that if you're in a healthy relationship with anybody, that person is coming to you from a place of love, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their intent should never be that of malintent.
Correct. It shouldn't.
So your thought shouldn't be, wow, he was really being a jerk. The thought should be, why did I take that negatively?
But to that aspect, and we're down the devil advocate route, like we'll just go down this. You should also know your partner.
Mm-hmm.
That's my bad for not knowing that my partner was not going to respond well to the type of compliment I was trying to give.
Now, there's something that you did well there, and I want to tie it back into living in the moments and awareness and communication. Yeah, you noticed there was a new dress, and you made a comment on the new dress.
Well, it was a show and tell, so don't give me too much credit for living in the moment. It was, hey, I got these things, let me show them to you.
Okay.
My wife, she might do something different with her hair. She might try on an outfit that she feels extra cute. And I got to really keep myself in check. When I'm home, I'm paying attention to Given, I'm paying attention to her. And you see this person every day. If you're really living in the moment and you're putting aside the other distractions,
You'll notice.
You should notice. And if you don't, and they get upset about it, they should tell you that you're upset. But then you really need to examine,
Why aren't you noticing?
why aren't you noticing?
Yeah.
I think a
With
lot
you
of
100%.
I think a lot of that comes down to normalizing just getting through it, right? I think a lot of, and I say that may come out wrong, but I say that
It's complacency towards your spouse.
Correct.
Is really what it is.
correct, and that's wrong.
Yeah, it is.
You should celebrate your spouse pretty much every day. Like I got my wife roses because it's her birth week, and shame on me because she's told me before
She does not like roses.
she doesn't like roses, or what's the other one? Now I have it saved in my notes because it says, "Hey, dumbass, when you're buying flowers, don't buy these flowers."
See, my wife, she likes sunflowers, baby's breath, any of those wildflowers.
Yeah.
I stay away from roses.
Roses or daisies.
Yeah.
So, and her favorite color's pink, so I went pink, and I was like, "Oh,
Did you get her some tulips?
no, the roses right there, man." Anyway, so that tied into the whole like my husband doesn't know me thing, and shame on me for not knowing my wife in that instance. I'll take ownership in that.
It's hard because we don't prioritize those things. I wouldn't say it's a not knowing thing. Like, off the top of my head, I cannot tell you my wife's favorite candy. Right?
Bunch of crunch.
Yeah, I can't tell you that. I can't tell you her favorite candy. But I can tell you her interest. I can tell you what she does with her interest. I can tell you the book she's reading right now. Right? But those odds and ends, in my mind, aren't a priority. And I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that's right.
There's a matrix that I've seen. It's like a little 2x2 grid that I think's really helpful for quantifying the distractions of life and the things that we have to prioritize. There's things that are urgent, and then there's things that are, there's a scale of importance. If it's urgent and not important, like, email notification, your phone buzzing, you got to recognize that it's not, it's happening to you right now and you see it, but you don't have to deal with it right that second. Whereas things that aren't urgent, but are important, maybe like big milestones, anniversaries, things with your wife. Like me and my wife, we feel we're shaking our head because we both forgot our wedding anniversary this year.
Jazzy forgot ours this year.
Nice. and that's an
You
important
wouldn't name drop it, sir. That is twice this episode.
Jazzy's fine. That's not her name.
No, but you dropped Leather Daddy's name in the beginning.
Did I?
You did.
I didn't even notice.
I didn't notice either.
It's fine. I mean, at the end of the day, like, if you don't know who we are, then cool. If you know who we are, cool. Again, this isn't for notoriety or fame or anything like that. This is just us trying to express some stuff that we have going on.
And smoke cigars and get together and hang
tax
out.
write-offs.
Tax
There
write-offs.
we go,
Tax
tax
write-off.
The amount of tax write-off.
Well, we treat a lot of things with our spouse. Our spouse is important to us, but we don't treat a lot of those things with urgency. There's that. My wife has a honey-do list at home that I don't treat with urgency. It's important. We have an oven, and there's been a hole in the cabinets above the oven for a year because the microwave blew a fuse, and I haven't fixed it in a year. It's just on the ground.
Or like
What do you do for a living?
Electrical.
or like Mufasa's cabinetry underneath his sink.
I don't even want to talk about it. That is not urgent or important.
and my wife finally let me know, hey, we've had this list, and it's stuff that really is important, and you haven't crossed off a single thing in 6 months.
So, and coming back to the complacency thing, and coming back to the living in the moment, and kind of like an overarching scheme, is you have to prioritize what's important. I read a book recently, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, and in the book it talks about, for the things that you care about, you sacrifice. For the things that you care about, you prioritize, and you have to choose your heart, is the term that they use. So, in that respect, choosing your heart is choosing the extra time that goes into keeping up with your spouse. Hey man, those were my feet. Sorry, I got a dog out here. But I've noticed that a common theme in modern day is prioritizing the providership.
Or yourself.
Or yourself. And I really, and and this isn't like oh, I've known this. This is more of like a thought bubble as it's going on, and I'm typing it out right now. You have to almost treat your spouse as your job, and not in a negative way, because you prioritize and you work to hit milestones at your job and to be good at your job. So you have to almost shift in that mindset of I have to be good for my spouse. I have to care. I have to do the detailed thing.
You're married, but you have to keep dating your spouse.
Absolutely.
I have this view, um, being a Christian, I have this view that you are a steward of your family. Your family belongs to God, but He gives you this family to be a steward over. And if I'm doing something unto God, I want to be doing it wholeheartedly, 100%, and I want to make that my priority, right? So for me, having that mindset that God literally entrusted these two people to me to love, protect, nurture, build up, right? It's a different mindset than just, hey, I love this person, because as we've talked before, love is a choice, and a lot of people, it can be fleeting.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, you're going to get those moment of sparks. You're going to get those moment of feeling the love. But it's to what we're talking about a little bit before. It's choices that you make in a day. It's choices that you make because I, feel this care and this deep want to be with this individual. That I'm going to do something that's special for them. I grew up poor, like super poor. Had I never went without. I'll put it that way. I never went without. I was always fed. I always had a roof over my head. But our house wasn't. It's like 1,400 square feet, 3 bedrooms and a single bath. That is not the norm in today's society. The norm in today's society is somewhere in 2,000 to 3,000 square foot range, and minimum 2 baths at this point. Materialistic things, but I noticed that my love language is spoiling, providing physical things that I didn't have the ability to receive when I was growing and maturing, because my family did everything they could to provide, but that was in the 2008 market crash, and my dad was a commercial contractor at the time. So my dad lost a huge chunk of his business for, the times that I was 10 to 15. A huge chunk of, the income kind of went away. And, my mom's job kept everything on lock. Bills were paid, food was in the house, but all the extra stuff went away.
Yeah. I would say also that you show love through giving, through gifts. Because even in our friendship, I feel like we all just want to bless each other with stuff. Like,
absolutely.
For my birthday was a couple weeks ago, and this man put together a group of guys to contribute into a watch for me, and this guy got me the Secret Lair for Magic set, and
I forgot I did that.
Yeah, and
I came in, I was like, oh crap.
And it was honestly, my parents always gave gifts, but gifts had never been that important to me until I realized that I enjoy getting love from the people I care about. And even though that may not be how I thought I received it, when you're getting it and you're accepting it, you're seeing that this is how they show love. This is how they're pouring out themselves to you, and it's kind of awe-inspiring to have people that are willing to do that in your life.
Having an awareness of the ways that people give love makes you appreciate it so much more. Always referencing books. There's one that's super important that I think any couple, both people, need to read. It's by Gary Chapman, The 5 Love Languages.
No relation to Tracy. Chapman. Sorry. Fast car. Sorry.
I think, but it's The 5 Love Languages. I might have the author.
Well, I will say this. Going back to like, don't let this giant teddy bear fool you. He gives and gives and gives and gives. My sister-in-law is just getting back into her faith and stuff like that, and there's a retreat coming up, and straight up like, hey, if she wants to go, we'll cover it. Hanging out and smoking cigars. I'm kind of a bum, a little bit in that regard. He usually brings an extra cigar. I have a humidor. I just haven't bought my next up. So don't let him just talk about how we love and give to him. He also loves and gives to us. And this one over here, one of our first get-togethers as like a collective group, we went over to his house and we were doing like a cookout. And it was only supposed to be like burgers and stuff like that. Homie shows up with steaks.
Yep.
He wants everybody to eat good. And now, granted, I got gout from that. So, Costco, thank you for the high nitrate count in your steak.
Sorry, buddy.
But I mean, the overarching thing is you get love when you give love, and you have to find the people who are adding to your life, because the people who add to your life, you're going to want to turn around and add to theirs. He's given me a magic deck when I first got into Magic, and it's a nice deck. I haven't played with it since he gave it to me, and it's because it's really strong, and it's kind of no fun to play when you're playing, precons, because it's Kalia, so she just summons giant, big-ass angels, but coming back to it, like, you get what you give. And there's that old, or not archaic, but that golden treat others how you want to be treated. And I think my cat just snagged a piece of bacon off the counter, which is gross. But you get what you give, and you treat others the way you want to be treated. And that right there is, if you want someone to love you and accept you, you have to love someone and accept them. So if you want spoils from them and their love and their giving, you have to also reciprocate that.
You gotta keep choosing them, because it's something that's real dangerous to fall into is the roommate syndrome. That's what complacency leads to.
For real. Yeah, Jesse and I were kind of talking about that the other week, is that we fell into that because our schedules are opposite. She works in the evenings, or afternoons, early evenings, tutoring, and that's when I'm free. So we won't get to bed until sometimes 10 o'clock, and she's like 10:05, she's asleep. So
she's like me in that regard. I fell asleep last night watching Dexter, and I was like, "Are you asleep?" No.
But that stems from not prioritizing time, right? Not prioritizing your spouse.
But in caveat, all you spouses out there, also recognize the 12 a.m. stay-ups. The 2 a.m. stay-ups.
Were you just pillow talking and hanging out?
No, sure, pillow talking. It's always great. But just in general, like, it's okay. And I'm not blessing myself or giving myself grace in that situation. But in retrospect, I had 4 hours of sleep. You have to recognize when someone's doing something for you as well. Mm-hmm. And so my wife is very gracious with that. She understands that, the night prior, I didn't go to bed until almost 12:30, 1 o'clock, and I got up at 4:30. So she didn't beat me up about falling asleep on the couch. She just said, okay, you want to go to bed? And it was nice. And so with your love, you also have to give grace.
Yeah. Constantly.
Absolutely.
All the time. I think, like, what is love without grace? Honestly.
Fun time. It just comes back to, you have to give to get what you want.
I do want to say something on that. So the love others like you want to be loved, I think it's really good. I think there's a little bit of danger in that, though. Because, for instance, I like when people are blunt with me. And I like, hey, Christian, you're being a jerk. Oh, shoot, I didn't even know. I'm sorry. But not everybody responds that way. Not everybody can take that kind of directness in love, right? And so treat others how you want to be treated. Also be mindful of who you're talking to and your surroundings, and you know what I mean?
Don't be a bull in a china shop.
But see, I like that. I personally, right? And so I'm like, if something pops up in my life, I'm like, let's just talk it through. What's going on? Why why do you feel this way? Versus
maybe a better extension of it is make others feel like how you want to
feel
be treated.
Yeah.
Feel.
Well, I mean, there is a certain level of tact you have to have, right? You know, not to get all manager speak, but you have to have tact. So yes, I can be direct with you, but I'm not gonna be like, hey, you're being a douchewagon. The inflection in the voice, the choice of words, all of that has to be.
I have a hard time with it, and I think I just have a different mindset, and I'm kind of glad we're talking about this because for me, if I know the people I surround myself are coming at me with love, and if they're not, they wouldn't be around me because I wouldn't tolerate it. So anything that you tell me, regardless of inflection or words used, I know you're telling me that with my best interest at heart. So my mind doesn't go to, oh, Joe's just picking on me. Joe's just being a dick. Or Alien is just being a dick. He's just hurting me. Okay, I caught myself that time. So that's not where my mind goes. So for me, I'm like, I would want somebody just to be brutally honest with me so I can grow, because that's my goal, right? I want to be better.
But I will also tell you that sometimes it's the individuals as well. Like,
yeah.
So for me, I struggle heavily with anger. Just gonna be honest, right? My almost initial reaction to any small, minor inconvenience or annoyance is an unyielding, boiling rage. I'm like a pot that's boiling noodles. You got to stir it every now and then so that it doesn't bubble over. And so I will come at you with directness, but also tactfulness, because I don't like myself when I'm like that. And so there is a certain level of directness and bluntness, but there's also a certain level of tact, because a lot of my initial reaction and thoughts are not out of love. It's out of anger.
And that's fair. That's fair. I don't usually come out of anger. But I think for me, I focus on tact with people I don't know, or people I don't have a relationship, or people I haven't fostered years of care and love into, because they should know me. They should know my heart. They should know where I'm coming from, because I at least think I know where they're coming from. Yeah.
So you were talking about a story with your dad.
Yeah, funny story about that. It was a period of time I'd just started being a manager. I hadn't seen my dad for a couple months, and I go and see him, and we're talking about something, and he just stops in the middle of the conversation. He's like, "Gino, tell me what's on your mind. Don't talk to me like I'm one of your damn employees."
Fair.
Yeah.
Right, I've gotten that from my wife. Like, yeah. Hey, I'm your wife, not one of your employees, so don't bark at me. And so, like, it's in a growing perspective, as a manager, the thought is, or at least my thought is, everyone works for someone. You have to be a slime monster and metamorph to what those individuals need. And that goes to your wife, too. You know, or your spouse, depending on your preference, right? Like, you have to have that ability to morph into something that they need. Like, I know you're telling me to be direct, so I can morph into a more direct individual with you, but I have to be a little bit more mindful with someone else.
I hear you, but you are a direct person.
I'm super direct. I'm blunt.
So you don't have to morph, because I'm. What I want from you is who you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, because that's who I love. That's the person I love, is who you are.
But that's not everybody.
That's
right?
not everybody. It's not everybody.
And so, to your aspect, like, you have to watch how you talk to people sometimes.
Yeah.
Because, I'll tell a quick little story. I'm all about the stories, right? So I made management at 24 in my company, very young manager, just in general, for a larger corporation. I had somebody who was a peer of mine at the time that I got promoted to above them, and they started reporting to me. Um, and you think that things are okay because of the relationship that you have, but when you kind of morph into a different relationship, you have to mind what you say. We were talking, and they were a dispatcher, and I made the asinine comment of, "Oh yeah, I'm younger than you, but I'm your boss." And that individual didn't take it as a playful poke or a playful banter back and forth. They took it as, "All right, let's step outside and see who's really the boss. Let's fucking throw hands." Which, pardon my language, but that put me in my place. Not to say I was scared, but I was in a different position. I can't be going out in the parking lot and fist fighting employees. So I say you have to watch the way you talk, because not everybody is like you. Not everybody wants the super directness, and not everybody can handle what you thought was okay to come out your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I just had another conversation today with one of my new managers who, dark humor from the military. If you watch any military things, they have a joke going about, depression and suicide and all that kind of stuff. And he made a joke in a meeting with all of our employees, like, "Oh yeah, I was thinking about that water park ride." And we're like, "What water park are you talking about?" He's, "That good old suey slide." And I was like, "Oh, you can't be talking about that."
Very different in a work environment.
But even then, again, coming back to kind of know your audience.
Yeah.
I think to be mindful of the other extreme, you don't want to go too far. When there's issues that arise, things that need addressing, address them in the moment, and that requires communication in that moment. So you don't want to let things stew. You don't want to brood on things. If there's an issue that comes up, you got to reach a balance of how that person communicates. Maybe they need to hit it at daylight, but you hit it as soon as possible.
Yeah. Take the time to process so you can articulate effectively the issue and then speak on it. Don't kitchen sink the person 6 months later because you were too scared to have the conversation. Right? It is better, and you are a better friend and person bringing up issues quickly and in the moment than you are holding out thinking that they might change with an unrealistic, uncommunicated expectation of change.
We're not mind readers. If you want them to do something, you have to communicate it. If you want something to change, or you want to address something, you have to communicate it.
I'm pretty good, but I disappoint my wife in that regard. I can't read minds. I tried.
I mean, but I will say, to a degree, you can be a mind reader.
Just know your life.
Social cues.
That's right.
But, I mean, it all comes back to that whole knowing the details. The devil's in the details, right? It's a really bad saying that the devil's in the details. It's more so that love is in the details. Because if you know the person and you love them and you want to see them succeed and you want to see them grow, you know the details that get, them moving in the direction that you both want to grow into.
And if you don't know how to communicate with the person, that's okay. Maybe have a conversation about that. Hey, what's the best way that if I see something that I think we can grow together in, how should I, because I had that conversation with my wife. If I see something, what's the difference between being nitpicky and having a conversation on how we can grow from what happened? Because not everything's worth that conversation. Like, you didn't pick your clothes off the floor, you missed the hamper, put them in the freaking hamper.
I have your wife's socks. You left them on my couch.
See, that doesn't surprise me at all. So, like, how do you communicate with that person on what's the most effective way to talk? Because maybe being blunt, like you were saying, isn't the most effective way. to communicate that, but hey, it's still something that needs to be addressed, so let's talk through it.
Avoiding talking about it is
Way worse.
Way worse.
And it shows that you don't respect or love that person enough to talk to them about it.
I would also,
in my opinion,
my wife has brought this to my attention because, you know, in those moments where I haven't checked out my emotions and actually started to listen to my wife instead of just listening to respond, it's understanding that you're not fighting against each other. You're fighting for growth as a couple, as a relationship, as a friendship. You're fighting to grow.
You're fighting against whatever caused the issue together. You're not fighting against each other.
But if you're at fault, or there is fault on both parties, it is hard to remember that you're fighting to get over it, not fighting to fight. And that, it's not saying like, hey, go pick a fight, but we all do. We all have bad days, and we just want to just destroy things and yell and hem and haw and kick and scream, and then understanding that, like, hey, can't be doing that.
You know what I struggle with sometimes is, and I don't realize I do it, and then my wife will point it out to me. She'll be this atomic bomb of joy,
and you blow out her light,
and I just slowly take it away from her. And I'm not doing it on purpose, but it's like there's something inside of me.
Misery loves company.
Why are you so happy right now? And I feel like garbage.
Misery loves company.
Yeah, and instead of, hey, I can be in that happiness with her if I just choose to be happy for a moment and see what she's seeing and rejoice in what she's rejoicing in, instead of doing the opposite and blowing out her candles and making her feel bad.
Something really important that you said about that is, especially in a marriage, we respond to each other's emotions.
Mm-hmm.
It's why men, if they have the ability to, check out, because your wife is going to respond to your anger, and if you're feeling like garbage, they're going to respond to you feeling like garbage, and it's checking that, realizing that, and you shouldn't bottle up your own emotions, but recognizing that you'll keep each other at each other's levels.
And also on that, I talked about it earlier about how I feel like most men either, I guess, three emotions. They're either happy, complacent, or angry. And we don't utilize the full range of emotion because we just go to these three staples that is basically all we're ever taught.
Be a man.
Be a man. You can be happy, but you can't be too happy.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
We have a label for complacency that we use in the house, and we call it in the middle. So we're not really feeling anything. We just call it, I'm just feeling kind of in the middle.
I will say that, you know, the generation that's coming up, you're getting a lot of different things, right? You're getting a different conversation from a different generation that's telling you to just grow up and be a man, or grow up and be an adult. And then you're getting other conversations that are in the middle that are like, it's okay to have feelings. It's okay to be sad. Mr. Roger, it's okay to feel sad. And then you also get the over-dramatizing every little thing from the newest generation. And so it's finding...
They live in their emotions.
Not everything is directed at you. Not everything is meant to hurt you. So understanding, to your point, that if the person you're talking to cares about you, they're coming from a place of love, maybe try to remember that and give that back to them.
I had somebody tell me once that when you get hurt by something, that it's ignore the other person. Okay? But you got hurt by something somebody said. Ignore the other person in this instance. Why did you get hurt? What did they say that hurt you? And figure out if the trigger of that hurt is something that you need to work on, or if the trigger of that hurt was because it was meant to be mean.
Figuring out your past traumas and healing from them.
Right.
a lot of how you respond is based off of your past traumas.
Yeah,
You know,
those were words. What about those words hurts?
Yeah. And I want to say what triggered you, but it's what triggered something inside of you to react the way it did. Because if I'm not saying you're never going to get triggered by something. I'm not saying that. But if you are, and especially if it's something repeated, most likely it's something inside of you that needs to be fixed or worked on to grow. Most of the time. Not always. There's always, odds. But
yeah. I'll also say this. Growing up, I don't know about y'all, but I never saw my dad show emotion. It was always either anger or complacency. It was never sadness. It was never hurt. It was never the feel for things. It was always just, I'm either dad or you're in trouble, or I'm having fun. But it's okay as an adult to experience trauma, to experience sadness, to experience depression, to experience all the I'm sad feelings. And I'll tell you that for me, it's hard for me to express that and understand when I can't express that because it was so coveted that you don't do that. And so if I'm comfortable enough expressing that to you and you don't receive it, that's on me. I can't tell you how to receive my emotions. I can't tell you how to react to me. All I can dictate is how I react to you. And there are times where you may be sad or you may be hurt, and the person you're going to just doesn't have the capacity to deal with it. Not saying grow up and be a man, but sometimes you have to pick and choose when you say what you say and
find people who have the capacity to build you up.
Yeah.
It's a careful balance because what you said right there brings up an important point about being a parent is with everything you do, all the ways that you show it, you're setting the example. Yeah. You just talked about the example that your dad sets. And how you show your emotions, we're not robots. We don't just have angry and complacent. We got a full spectrum. And being able to healthily show that in the house sets the example for how your children should healthily express it.
Be excited. Your wife tries on a new dress. Be excited. Your kid runs up to you and shows you some piece of artwork that you're like, what the hell is that? Be excited.
Take the time. Have lightsaber battles.
Have lightsaber
fun.
battles. Be excited. Show excitement. Show love. Show happiness. Show the a full range of emotion.
Just as important as it is to communicate that right with your spouse, you're setting the example that your kids are going to learn from.
Yeah.
So ultimately, to kind of sum it up, you have to foster a place of growth and healing and understand that the people that you choose to bring into your life that love you and want to see you succeed are not coming from a place of tearing you down.
And if they are,
then they're not coming from a place of love and wanting to see you succeed. They're coming from another place, and then that's
they're outer circle then, right?
Sometimes people aren't meant to be in your life forever. It sounds very cheesy, but there's a saying at the end of Ill Mind Hobson 8, where he's talking about that not everybody who comes into your life is meant to be there forever. Not everybody who comes into contact with your life is meant. Sometimes they're just meant for a short stint. And that's okay. Knowing that is okay. But forming bonds and connecting with people who want to see you succeed in life is how you succeed in life. Try to shoulder this thing alone.
It's too heavy.
You will fail.
It's too heavy.
You have to have a village. You have to have a support structure. If I didn't have these two individuals, I've got one other guy in Dallas, and I see him right now. It's every 6 months because it's a 2-hour drive to each other. And that's
prioritize.
I do prioritize when his AC system goes down, and he prioritizes when my vehicle doesn't start. But Yeah, I mean, I haven't been the best friend for him because I haven't prioritized going down to him. And vice versa. He hasn't been the best friend to me, and that's not calling shots at anybody. But to your point, prioritizing the people that you care and love about in life. We both need to be better in that aspect. But if you don't have a community or a village to hang out with, to open up with, and to help grow, then you're just not living life.
So this super busy summer was like a good 2.5, almost 3 months. And we're all so busy that things were disrupted. Didn't see y'all for that period of time.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, it's like the dark ages, and that doesn't sound like a long period of time, but it is,
When you're all alone,
and
it's a long
and
period.
you take a hit. You take a hit in all aspects. Just it's more than just that social. It's spiritually, it's mentally, it's physically. Because we all lift each other up in all these different ways.
Find people that are pillars to an aspect you need in your life. He pushes me to be more spiritual. You push me to be more educated and read more and to lead more.
And you push us to be physically more fit and to
Eat
work out and to eat
zebra
better.
cakes.
He doesn't do that.
Yes, I do.
Froyo.
But every single one of us push each other in different ways because we want those three pillars. Those three pillars are important to us. And we found people who push us to grow in those pillars. I'm more apt to lift heavier when I'm working with these two people in the gym. I'm more apt to read my Bible when I'm talking scripture with Mufasa. I'm more apt to talk about love languages and leading and fostering a loving environment with my family when I'm talking with Leather Daddy. So every single one of your people has to bring something to your table. We have another buddy who is not with us, and right now he's alive. Don't worry, he's alive. But he's kind of moved into this group, this trifecta, this pillar that we have, and he pushes us in a way that we don't even realize to slow down and enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
He pushes us in a way to, hey, not everything you don't have to go to the gym every day. You don't have to go to church every Sunday. You don't have to read and grow every day. Some days it's okay to just
He's
live.
so Hakuna Matata, it's ridiculous.
Absolutely, no worry.
You describe it like that, and that is the exact vibe, and it's wonderful. I saw that right away when I met him.
Yeah.
I just met him here the other weekend.
But
Just such a grounding individual.
Yeah.
It's finding what those people do for you in your life and speaking to them about what they bring to your life so that you as a group can bring it.
It's not just meeting to play a game or to hang out. It's invest the time, set aside time specifically to grow together. Like us talking in these groups, in this podcast, whatever. It's us growing together, talking about things. Because honestly, this is not scripted at all. We say, hey, we're going to talk about communication. And then we all just show up. Right?
I have 5 bullet points of talking.
And we just YOLO it.
Yeah, because I feel like for us it's real. Yes, we could prepare a little bit, like a little snippet of something we may want to say, but for the most part it's us working through stuff together in a communal sense with you guys, and we get to grow as a unit. And it's important to make that distinction of, yes, I want to hang out and have fun, but also let's set aside an hour. And I'm really the other week when I was struggling with my job stuff, I talked to these guys. I was like, hey, I'm having a really hard time with this. And that burden that I was carrying by myself got a little bit lighter. Having people that can help carry your burdens, even if it's just a little bit, will help you move so much further.
So I think we've come to a natural conclusion at that point. Find people to grow with.
Mm-hmm.
share the load, build the love, and enjoy the moment. And tomorrow will hold what it holds. You can't change what's coming tomorrow. Damn sure can't change what happened yesterday. So all you can focus on is today and in this moment. So, and with that,
Dad approved.
Dad approved. Y'all have a great one, and we'll see y'all hopefully soon. Got to talk to them about scheduling because, we took off 3 months, but
hey, we're back.
we are back at it like a crack addict. So, have a good one.